Do you trust your interior designer? Because if you don't trust your interior designer, you shouldn't be working with them. And I'm going to tell you why. We're going to talk about this today.
That's
Trust.
important.
Well, I work different ways. What I like to do is full service elite design. That's what I call it. And it's really about doing everything, soup to nuts, like start to finish, oversee the project implementation and the trades. But then, not everybody wants that or is interested in that or has a budget. So then I do something I call design on demand, which is hourly. And I always start with 20 hours because even if it's a small project, it's never a small project. There's so many details. So with my design on demand, it's a lot more kind of consulting.
Yeah.
And when I'm talking with the clients, it doesn't start, it's way more, I'm finding that it's way more work because it doesn't start with
Way more work.
the vision, right? It
Mhm.
it kind of starts with what they want to do, and then they want to make sure that they're doing the right thing. And then they want to implement it, which is great. If you feel like you want to implement it and you have the time to do that, not everybody wants to pay to have help. It's like same reason why some people do their own taxes and other people hire an accountant.
Exactly.
You gotta listen. I'll be saying you should do this, trying to really put it together from these piecemeal places.
Yeah.
And then the client, but I really want to do that. So what they really want to hear was, yeah, that's right, go do it. And I'm like, well, what did you hire me for? I mean, I can do that. And
Yeah.
eventually when I'm working with a client like that, eventually that's what I start doing because they're going to be happy with it. I know that. I mean,
Right.
unless it's really off the wall,
Yeah.
but they just want to have the sounding board. Not the
Right.
funnest way to work though, because and it's a lot more work because now it's a lot more massaging and like, is it they don't trust me? And that's what it feels like for me. It's like, okay, you trust me, but only in so much as I can tell you that what you're doing is right.
Clients just want to micromanage the whole process, and
Right.
that's just their nature. So I think that's when the
Hmm.
screening process really comes into play and is important because we can't service everyone. There are
Right.
certain clients that are just not a good fit. And I think once you really stick to your process of screening clients, and it's hard sometimes, right? It's
Hmm.
hard because we'll get referrals and from a good client or it's somebody that's very nice and we'll want to help them. But at the end of the day, that's what I've learned is really to stick to the criteria that I have set in place for my business and stick to that. Because otherwise it does take double the amount of time and it's not worth the fee,
Right.
honestly. I mean, that's the thing. It's like you're spending so much time, it's really not worth it.
Yeah.
I come across this quite a bit actually with smaller jobs, and you have
Right.
to really decide, like, is it worth me taking this on?
Right.
You know? And I think that's why and I was having this conversation with a client the other day, that's why when you have small jobs, and a client calls a contractor, come maybe when they're not that busy, they'll give you a price, maybe just to get you to sign on,
Right.
and they ghost you because maybe they got a bigger like a kitchen remodel or something,
Right.
and the smaller jobs kinda get pushed to the side.
They do.
So,
Well, the thing though is that often I'll take on the smaller job because they have a lot more jobs they want to do and it's building that trust. And that's worked in the past for me as well, where, I take on a job and it's just a small job and it's the scope grows and grows and grows because they start to feel more and more comfortable and they're like, this is really working out.
Mhm.
And that's kind of what, is a balance because
But that also depends on the client.
yes, it depends on
Because
hard
if
to
it's a
tell.
small job and the budget is low and they're trying to do everything like low budget, that's not gonna turn into more business. So I think it's really about
Yeah,
just really
it's about creating
figuring
that
out
relationship. It's
the
about creating
client
that
relationship
yeah, it's a
and
client
what their
relationship.
goal is.
Yeah, and that takes a lot of time. Like, I think I spend the first part of the relationship just understanding what their goals are and how to work, and Probably a good 3 to 4 hours. I mean, between phone calls and texts and meeting on site, just to say, "Okay, what's the best way to approach this with them? What's the best way to work with them? Do I understand their needs? Am I gonna be able to deliver, in the way that works best for them?"
Yeah, that's important. It's tough
And
sometimes,
yeah.
definitely a balance.
Well, I love doing I love doing design, so it's always,
Yeah,
I was like, "Yeah, I can do that. I know I can. I can help you boom, boom, boom." But then clients kind of get in their way
yeah.
because
And
yeah.
I feel like if it's not a project that's really gonna, like, get me excited, then maybe it's just not the right fit, you know? If you have to go into it and you're, like, hesitant, I don't know if this is the right fit or if it's gonna work or it's gonna take too much time, then it's really worth, then it just might not be the right fit. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, maybe just not the right fit.
Exactly.
So what do you do then when, like, somebody comes to you, they were working with a different designer, and that
Mhm.
didn't work out?
That's a red flag.
Red
That's
flag.
always a red flag. And a lot of people have talked about this,
Right. Well, let's talk about it.
say that it's a red flag, but until you experience it, you don't know. So I got into a situation like this maybe a year or two ago, with someone who came to me and was like, same thing. She had a designer, did all this renovation. She approved everything, she picked everything out. And then she's like, I'm not happy now. So she contacted me and wanted to redo some stuff. And when I had the initial call, I was like, this is a red flag. This is not gonna be good." But I met with her in person. I'm like, "Let me see." I met with her in person. Very nice, love the family. Showed her, like, my design direction of what it would be, like, this is what I propose, which normally I don't even do that before signing on a client, but
Yeah.
I did it in this case just because I knew of the history.
Right.
And
Okay.
so she was super happy, they loved everything, and then so I was like, "Okay, I'll take it on." And I was doing the project while they were out of town, and so for the most part, it was fine, but towards the end, it just got to be all the red flags really started showing up, and
Mm,
then I just realized that some people are just never gonna be happy no matter what it is, and it has nothing to do with me or you or anyone involved in the project. It's just and I've experienced this a few times in the many years I've been doing this. They're just unhappy people within themselves, and so they project that onto
right.
everybody.
Right. They're hoping that this project is or this design, like the interior of their home is gonna make them happy.
But it has nothing to do with that.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean,
They're
yeah,
just unhappy
yeah.
people. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I have a client, they didn't work out. Actually, I have a couple clients didn't work out with the designer that they were working with. They were very upset. And I'm like, "Okay." But what I do now is I take them through my process. Okay, this is how it's going to work
Yeah. You have
because
to.
yeah, because this is how I work. So you understand. And of course, like in design, it seems, people think that we don't do anything because we'll meet with a client and then we go away. And it's
Yeah.
like, hey, what are you doing?
Yeah. But there's, like, weeks and weeks of work behind the scenes and sometimes months depending on the size of the
Yes,
project, so
absolutely. And it's
it's
up
definitely
and
a roller
down.
coaster,
Right.
yeah.
So then you meet them and you show them all the work you do and then you go away.
Yeah.
Because now you got to pull all the
Yeah.
pieces and details and everything together. And
Yes.
then, and they're like, well, what happened? Well, I got to get all these pieces together because I don't use just one vendor and for everything. I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
just heading over to Crate and Barrel and picking everything out and sliding it in. That's not how I do it. I curate it. I pull from multiple sources upholsterers, refinishers, working with various trades, painters, wallpaper, hangers. And so then I've got to coordinate everybody.
Yep.
Thank God I have an assistant because she does lot more, a lot of that now. But between her and I, like we spent hours and then you come back to the client, it's like, well, where have you been? Lounging. So I'm finding,
Yes.
but getting on board with the client to create that trust. Make them have them give them a good understanding of like what you do and how you do it and in the
Mhm.
sequence, and then understanding all their like their needs and the function and their space, and then them understanding your contract because the clients are like, "Oh, I'm just thinking about it." Well, it's like, no.
Then
Like
everything
all
you did is now gotta be redone when they come back because things are out of stock or it's too much time
and
has
it's
passed.
repriced, especially on the
Right.
pricing, right? It's like, no,
Pricing,
this right. And then they're like, "Well, we just come back and they wanna change one thing."
sure.
It's a domino effect.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I actually every time something happens or every project that I work on, I always, like, after that, think of other things that happen, and I'll, like, tweak my contract.
contract. Yeah.
And even my design presentation when I'm meeting a client for the first time and, like, walking them through the process,
Mhm.
I'll add little things in there. And I actually this weekend redid my whole contract,
Wow.
and I feel like it's so long,
It is.
and I don't know if it's intimidating, but it kinda has to be because then people ask questions or, like, think of something, and I just feel like if it's all in there, it's better. So I wanted to ask you this because, like, say it's a small project, right?
Right.
Do you still use the same contract with all that stuff in it?
No, I have a smaller contract for that.
Okay.
I have a smaller contract, but I do say that the hours have to be especially, like, that design on demand, which we
Yeah.
talked about, which is just hourly. It's like
Nice.
it's written down that you have to finish these hours in a certain amount of time. Like, it's not gonna be over 3 years that the
Yes.
planning hours were, right? It's like 90 days.
True.
So many if you're doing a project and you wanna move it forward, you have to make decisions at the beginning, like, all of these design like, most of the work is right at the beginning. What is the layout? What is the furniture? What are the selections? What are the colors? I mean, all of that is done.
So if you delay it 6 months, all the pricing changes.
Right. So I'm like, "No, you gotta use these hours up, otherwise they expire." And
Yeah.
it's not like they expire, but I tell people,
Right.
"Hey, we're rarely does it ever continue on because there's a lot of work at the beginning
Yes.
of the project. And then there's a like, for me, I find there's a lot of work at the beginning of the project and we're working on all the details and stuff. And then while we're waiting for product to come in and waiting to coordinate, say there's painting and some construction and stuff, there's a delay because the products may take, let's just say 12 weeks, right?
Mhm.
But I know that construction is gonna take 3. Well, I don't wanna put them out of their home, out of their bedroom or whatever, like, for as soon as I finish, like, ordering everything, I'm gonna like, "Okay,
Right.
given that everything's coming in November, working with the contractor and everybody else, if we start mid-October, then
Mhm.
by that time, the furniture will be in just as we're finished, and we can, like, coordinate it all, and they can be kicked out of their space for the shortest amount of time." But
Yeah.
all those everything? So then there's that, like, big gap in the middle and while we're waiting to start the project.
Yeah.
Like, like in a bedroom recently, my client had to move out of her room and the closet and the bathroom. Well,
Mhm.
as soon as we finished the design process, it didn't make sense. I couldn't get the
Yeah.
contractor to get on a schedule. And of course, and even when we were finished, there was still a delay on the furniture. We had hoped that it was like mid-July. It wasn't.
Mhm.
We had to wait to the end of July, but or
Okay.
maybe it was even August. But we at least had like most 99% of the stuff in, then there were a couple peripheral pieces that,
Yeah.
were rentals of the design, like the bed frame, but
Mhm.
she could get in and we set up her bed for her, and then the bed frame came and we put it in after everything was
Okay.
done. So there was a delay. But, so there is this like up and down in the cycle of a
Yeah, and to keep on top of all the scheduling because things are always changing,
oh yeah,
right? So
absolutely.
that's a huge part of it too.
Mhm. And then you run into a problem, "Oh, this didn't come in right." Recently, kitchen, the garden window, little garden window
Mhm.
came in the wrong size. I'm like, "Okay." I mean, it wasn't me, it wasn't my contractor, so that makes a difference. Because like, when it's my contractor, a little bit more like, I'm not quite as accommodating, but when it's the client's contractor, it's harder to yell at them.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean,
Yeah,
they
that's true.
you have less leverage. I like working with my contractors simply because I have leverage. Know that the
Mhm.
contractor knows this is not a one-off for them. This
Yeah.
is a hopefully a relationship that's going to continue, but it's not going to continue if you don't do it the way I want. Not that I'm unreasonable. I just have my standards. Like
Yeah.
you don't get to just kind of do it the way you want. You got to be like do it the way I want. And I'm not unreasonable. I just it just works better for everybody if you do what I say.
Oh, boy.
Well, come on.
Yeah. No, I
Ugh,
get it. I get
rec
it.
well, recently
Clear communication.
yeah, well, recently we were doing this and it was, you know, everything was written down. Under cabinet lighting was gonna be tape lighting. So I go in one day and it wasn't my contractor, but
Mhm.
he has an electrician there, and I'm like, "That wiring there is like it's not like low voltage wire, it's
Yeah.
regular 110."
Right.
He's like, "Yeah, we're gonna put in the under cabinet lighting." I'm like, "Well, show me what you're gonna put in." And he pulls out like those little white boxes like this or long, and they have long little tube lights in there. I'm
Yeah.
like, "No, no, 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 you're not putting that in. Like, it's just not happening."
Mm.
I was like, "Well, this is what it's supposed to." I'm like, "No." And so, my sister and I, we went right back through all the contracts that sure enough, on that contract was tape lighting.
Mm.
Not my fault that you installed it incorrectly. Like, we went over this contract, we all sat down, walked through it.
Right.
Like, thank God.
Do they change it?
Yeah. Yeah, because it's in the contract, and there's a big difference between tape lighting
Mhm.
and little plastic boxes, like, with tube
Yeah.
lighting. Like, that just doesn't work. Like, those just are not gonna work.
I hear you.
That's my so we do it my way. But those contractors are so important and in walking through it. But with the smaller one with the 20 hours, I don't worry so much about. I have a small contract, very quick. But with a full service project, absolutely, because there's a lot more moving parts
Yeah.
and nothing is worse than getting in the middle of a project and you're fighting over something that could have been foreseen
Yeah.
in a contract, you know.
Yeah.
I rarely have or I think maybe once I had problems getting payment from a client.
Mhm.
Once I had once where a client just started ghosting me at the end, like, they were, "Yeah, yeah, 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 yeah," and then I'm like, "Okay," and sign on, and then they just disappeared. They had paid all the design fee, and they just stopped right at the beginning of where they were supposed to pay for the furniture and move the project forward.
Uh,
So I'm like, "Alright, what
but
can I do?"
you didn't order the furniture yet then?
I hadn't ordered it.
Oh, that's good.
So, like, I find that I rarely have an issue with it. Like, I'm not gonna quit in the middle of a project. I'm going to see it through. I'm gonna find some resolution to make it work. So,
So
I don't know, in over 16 years of doing this, I've never just said, "Okay, see ya," and ghosted them. Like, why would I ghost you? Like,
no.
I'm so invested in the
Yeah.
project,
Yeah.
like, because I
Yeah.
have a vision, and then I wanna see it, and it's really frustrating when it doesn't move forward and get done because I'm thinking, wow, there's such possibility here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so even though I have I think my contract's like 22 pages long.
Okay. I thought mine was long, but no, it's not that long.
How long is
22
your contract?
pages? I
Yeah, it's
wanna
about
say
22.
I think it's like 10, like the full
Wow.
service. Yeah, it's like 10.
Okay.
But
Well,
everything in there is, like, important, so I don't know, even for, like, a smaller renovation, if I would take anything out of it, because a renovation is a whole 'nother beast.
right. Well, I think the difference is that,
I feel like for a small project, it could kinda be intimidating that you gotta, like, look through all these pages.
well, if it's a full service,
Yeah.
soup to nuts, you get my big contract. It doesn't
Well,
matter.
that's the thing, yeah.
Because I know that we have to go through the whole process. It doesn't matter if it's a small project
Right,
or if it's a whole house. The
right.
process is the same. Now, when I'm talking about doing more consulting and like the 20
Yeah,
hour
that's, like, furniture based, that's different.
yeah.
Yeah.
lots of times it's like, okay, can we just do the layout? And then what about, the lighting here? It's not,
Yeah.
it's a little more hodgepodge. So
Right.
I'm really just counting it as hours. And,
Well,
I
22 pages?
should I be proud?
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Well, it's, a lot of boilerplate, which is, force majeure and this
Yeah.
liability and that, blah, 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 blah. I'm
Yeah.
like, I just keep adding to it. And then, I also list down every single step that I'm going to do in each of the process. So design, like, what's that? Design coordination, right? I'm doing.
Okay.
And then like project coordination, all those steps, what it all entails. This
Okay.
is what you get in the first step. So that takes up a few pages.
Okay.
And then I have a couple pages because we also talk about investment amount, like when
Right.
we're like, you don't just sign on with the design fee. You have to sign on for how much are you gonna invest in this project?
Right.
Because there's no point in you paying me whatever, 20 grand, and then in your mind you're thinking, "Well, this bathroom's gonna be 15,000," or
Yeah.
whatever it is, Let's
Yeah.
just say. I mean, that's unusual,
Right.
but and I'm working away and I come back and like the project is 45. Now
Right.
that is like right away. The client's going to be upset. They're not going to trust me.
Right.
I've done useless amounts of work on something that just would never come to fruition because we're not on the same page.
Right.
So that investment amount page is important to start saying, okay, we're going to do this job. You're going to pay me this much. And you agree that the project investment is this much. And then I know where to land. Like I know where, I think you're saying this where you do flat like you're saying, okay, it's $75,000 for the bedroom. And then you just take that as a flat fee instead of breaking it down in 199 for, you know, 2000 for the you know, this and 5,000 for the desk and, breaking it down like that.
I think it's a I mean, to me, based on my experience, I think it's a better strategy to price it per room
Mhm.
because then it doesn't compromise the overall vision of the project. Like,
No.
we agree on a number, whatever it is. You have $30,000 to spend in furnishings. Okay, wonderful. And I'm going to decide how
How
to
that
break up that money based on all of the different elements that we're using, right? Because if
right,
there's like a statement bed and that's going to be a little bit more, then I'll spend a little less on something else. Like I want to be able to control the budget
right.
without compromising the integrity. And I feel like when you sit down with clients and you have to, I mean, like, what do they know? Like, okay, this nightstand costs $900. This, like, when you break it down like that, to me, it's just, it's useless,
Hmm.
you know? And whenever
Right.
I've done that in the past, I've always run into problems.
Mm.
It's like, well, why do we have to spend this on this? Can we find this less? Can we find, and then we're trying to find everything less. And then the
Hmm.
whole integrity of the design and what you wanted changes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it does, but I also like I hear you and I don't do that. I've been thinking about it. But frankly, I kind of and I think that is the job of the designer to how they appropriate the funds. This much
Exactly.
goes here, this much goes over there. Okay, let's bring it over here. Well, we can save over here, but we can spend more over here now, right?
Right. But that's what I'm best at, not
I
the
mean,
client.
that's our job. That's part of our
Right.
job, right?
So, right.
So
That's what
I
we do
agree.
as the designer instead of the client. That's why they're hiring us.
Right, I agree. I guess I like it because, there are times where I'm like, "My god, this is fantastic. We need this in the room," but the original budget is not gonna be able to afford this. So, then I have the latitude to say, "Hey, we can do this or we can do this." And, like, it's still gonna be beautiful,
Yeah.
but, this choice is just fantastic. It's fantastic. But it's gonna cost more. So I wanna be able to say, yeah, is that what you do? Well, I don't know. Tell me how you do it.
Yeah. You can still do that. I mean, because Sometimes I'll do a range, like, in the contract. I think the last time I did it, I gave them a range of, like, furnishing investment. Let's say between 35 and 50,000. That's the range of, like, the minimum.
Right.
I'm just making up numbers.
Right, right.
So you have flexibility, and sometimes we're like, "Okay, we'll try to stick to the 35 or 40 or whatever." But if there is something, you can always go to them and say when you do the design presentation, when you have the options and say, "Okay, well, this is
Okay.
gonna bring the budget more around 45. If you love this, then, we can do it." So
Right.
but, yeah, I mean, there always has to be a minimum spend that's realistic.
Right.
Just from the projects that I've worked on and how it's been broken down, I've decided that for me, that works the best way.
Right. Well, sometimes it's trial and error. Like you do
Exactly.
it a few times, you're like, okay, this works. Or you do it and you're like, oh my God, this is way more work or this
Because you
doesn't
know what
work.
else happens
Now
when
what?
you do it well, this was my experience. It's like, okay, here's a dresser and it's $3,500. Then the client will be like, I found this one, sending you a text. It's 2,500. And then it opens up a whole can of
It
worms.
does. That can open.
And I don't like that. I
Yeah.
don't like that.
I guess what I do in those instances recently, the bed that I originally picked, I'm familiar with the pricing, but I don't get exact pricing on the first initial design presentation. I'm picking the ideas and I'm like, okay, I know where beds usually fall. So turned out the bed fell way above. I was thinking it was going to be around 8,000 for the bed. It turned out to be like closer to 12. I'm like, oh geez, like that's way more. And she loved the bed. So I had picked three beds. That was the one she picked. And then I came back and then I priced everything out and I was like, holy cow, that bed like really just shot up. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Um, but the prices had gone up, and then I think it was a fabric that she used or that she ended up selecting. So then when I came back, I was like, "Look, this is a bed. This is the price of the bed that you selected. However, I know that I feel that you're going to be uncomfortable spending $12,000 on the bed. Now, some clients would, sometimes wouldn't. And I said, so what I've done is I've got two other options that are going to come in significantly less. And they did. They came in like 7 grand, right? Not kind of the same, like different fabric or whatever it was. And so that's sort of what I did because it's hard when I'm presenting. I come with like an option. Sometimes it's like two options for the bed, three options for nightstand, because it's kind of mix and match. But then some of the stuff, like one piece won't really match with the bed. So, but if they pick the other bed, it will. So then I'm like, you know, and then I help, I kind of guide them through, right?
Yeah.
Is that how you work?
Yes. I was doing that a lot in the beginning. Now, more so like if I have a situation like that, I'll put like two package, like option one, option two, with putting it together how I think it should be put together the
I
best
see.
way.
Okay.
So sometimes I'll do that. Yeah. It just depends on the project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then I don't price it at the beginning. I just go by, okay, I know this vendor, I know where their pricing usually falls.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like, or the fabric, especially fabric. Now,
Yeah.
fabric?
The prices have been changing from just in the last couple of months. What
Yeah.
I've noticed is the pricing on the furnishings, fabrics, everything is just going up.
Yeah.
And, like, pretty significant from, like, last time this year to now, like, a
Yeah.
year's difference. Because I was just happened to be in one of my accounts looking at things that I bought for a project last year, what
Okay.
I paid last year, and, like, looking at the prices now, and it's significantly
Right.
increased. So,
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
another thing too.
So, every time, like, it seems like when I start another project, like, okay, I got to reevaluate where the
Right.
pricing is going to land and
Exactly.
the places that, and then it, especially even now, like, there's some companies that I like and their pricing is really good, but their lead times, which is the
Mhm.
amount of time from when you order to when you get the project, for anybody who doesn't know what a lead time is, 6 months. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, well, that
I don't have
doesn't,
the patience for
no,
6 months.
unless I'm doing a renovation, right? And we're like way out here. and I know there's a big, long construction, then it's
Yeah.
worth it. Their pricing
Yeah.
is good, their product is beautiful, and
Yeah.
I love their stuff. Like, it's yeah, I love because you can do a lot of custom, custom work with them.
Yeah.
But, like, if we're not really renovating, if we're just painting and wallpapering and,
Yeah.
doing a little electrical.
Mhm. Yeah. Exactly. I mean, because also too, like, that drags along the project, like,
Yeah. I wanna get
too
it
long.
done, like, people wanna
Yes.
move in their house, they wanna enjoy their house.
Exactly.
Yeah. I want them to enjoy their house. I want them to be calling me saying, "Oh my god, this is fantastic." I don't want them calling me saying, "Where are you? Yeah, where's my stuff?"
Oh my god, that's so
Really.
true.
I think we're good on this one.
Yes. All right. Well, we will see you all next week. Thank you.
If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat. We can answer them. But it's really Elizabeth and I talking about the
Just the day to
design
day.
key, the
Yeah.
stuff in between.